All right, y'all. Welcome into the show. Got a lot of big breaking news to cover. I just got done watching the Iron Bowl. Watched all the games today, rivalry games this weekend, and going back to yesterday. So buckle in. This could be a long reaction show here. Also, some thoughts on the coaching carousel as well. We're not covering every single game that happened this weekend, but we'll be covering the major ones that I guess sort of the ones we picked this week in our picks back on the big show we did this week. So to be mindful of that, we're not covering every single game, so just be aware of that. But yeah, this is our typical reaction show for Saturday night, early Sunday morning. This is when this will be released, so just be aware of that. But yeah, most of the games that we're on, I've pretty much finished. So I guess we'll actually start with this. Actually, some developing news, if you will. So the ACC. I know Josh Pate brought this up weeks ago. This whole chaos theory in the ACC, where there was this scenario where Duke, because at the time they only had one conference loss and they only had losses out of conference, they could still make it to Charlotte for the ACC championship game, right? Well, apparently, according to the results today, with Cal upsetting SMU, that is now sending 7-5 Duke. Yes, 7-5 Duke to Charlotte for the ACC championship game against Virginia. While 10-2 Miami is sitting at home. Now, the sort of conundrum this will cause is we'll probably talk about more about this during the week. This coming up week is a Duke win, and this is coming from Ross Dellinger, by the way. Sort of reading off of his tweet here is that a Duke win here would in the ACC championship game could make it for a very odd situation here, where if you guys don't know that when they say the top 5 highest ranked conference champs get a AQ, that doesn't necessarily guarantee everyone. Okay, that just means the top 5 ranked, highest ranked, or the top 5 highest ranked conference champs could be from anyone from the Power 2, the other 2 conferences, the major conferences, or the G5. So that calls into question: could a second G5 get in over Duke, since Duke has the worst record out of all the teams? So just something to wonder about. But congrats to Duke, Manny Diaz and company, for getting to Charlotte in the ACC championship game for, I believe, the first time in over 10 years, I believe. So there's that. But I guess we can start from behind here, work our way back. I guess we can talk about the game that just happened. Bama 27, Auburn 20. We predicted this game sort of correctly, I think, back in when we did our preview our big show back before Thanksgiving. We picked this game pretty much correctly. I thought this would be a hard-fought game, a classic Iron Bowl game in Jordan Hare Stadium, and I thought Bama would win, and I thought Auburn would cover. I was kind of correct on that, but I think Bama actually ended up covering, so good for them, I guess. I know a lot of folks have thoughts on Bama and Kellen DeBoer. I'll get to those in a second, but just the game itself, how, just as a spectacle, right? Auburn comes storming back there. They're down 17-0. They tied the game there and go into the fourth quarter. Bama pulls away at the very end to win the game on that final drive to win. I would give Kellen DeBoer and that staff there a whole bunch of credit. Not for this game, but all these other close games, right? The ones that they were winning. The Georgia game, the South Carolina game, the Tennessee game even, just all these close games. I know a lot of folks, and this is what I was referring to about Kellen DeBoer and Bama in general, because a lot of folks have this expectation for Bama, right? Just this expectation of, man, they should go in and, destroy 5-7 Auburn, destroy, 4-8 South Carolina on the road. But that's not Kellen DeBoer. Go watch. If you go back to the Washington team he coached a couple years ago, that went to the national championship game with Michael Penix and company, and Rome Odunze and Jalen McMillan. Go watch that team. Go look at it on their Wikipedia page. There were so many close games, and in fact, this game. Look up. I mean, we're not doing a live show. This is pre-recorded, so we can go ahead and do. Let's see here, Washington 2023. Just go on their Wikipedia page. You'll look at all the close games they had, all the nail biters they had with that team that year. And here, I'll pull up the Wikipedia page here, and we can look at it. Close games here. So, Arizona on the road, close game, 7-point game. Oregon, 3-point game. Arizona State, 15-7. Stanford, 42-33, close. USC, close. That was a 10-point win. Utah, close. Oregon State, close. Washington State, That game that year in the Apple Cup is the comparison to this game. 24-21. Very similar. That was a game that Washington could have easily lost, and they should have lost, but they didn't. That's the Kellen DeBoer. That's the Kellen DeBoer experience. It's not blowing out teams 45-0 or 42-0 or 65-0. That's not his style. So to anyone who's assuming that that's going to happen and, that's who Bama is going to be under Kellen DeBoer is wrong. That's not a good thing, but it's not a bad thing either. Because look at what he did at Washington. He got him to the national championship game. Look at his career at Fresno State and Sioux Falls. So what I'm trying to say here is that them struggling against a bad Auburn team, you shouldn't be surprised by it. That's just what it is. That's just who they are. It's not a bad thing, or is it a good thing? Again, go back to that Washington team they almost lost to in 2023. That Washington State team that almost beat Kellen DeBoer. That team finished 5-7 too. So it's not something like, oh man, they almost lost to 5-7 Auburn team. So let's better fire Kellen DeBoer. That's not happening. So anyone suggesting that he should, be fired for this or, this is a bad thing, I don't know what to tell you. Clearly you don't understand Kellen DeBoer's history. You don't know what he has historically done in terms of he's not a coach, or his teams they don't typically blow out teams. What I'm trying to say. So they usually have close games. They had a whole bunch of them at Washington. So again, I think a lot of folks have this revisionist history of, oh man, that Washington team in 23, they blew everyone 125-0. That didn't happen. That did not happen. Again, the Washington State team they almost lost to went 5-7 too. So was that Washington team bad? Should they have been left out of the playoffs and Florida State should have been into? Crimea River. Okay, that's not who they are. Yes, Bama is a flawed team. Everyone has flaws, except for I guess Ohio State and maybe Indiana, but Indiana has flaws too. But they won in spite of them. A&M has flaws. Georgia has flaws. Michigan State has flaws. Michigan has flaws. Georgia Tech has flaws. Okay, everyone has flaws, and Bama has flaws. And look, they won today. Good for them. Most teams, you don't have a competent head coach and a competent coaching staff would have lost that game. They then, again, go back to Kellen DeBoer's resume. It's not filled of, 65-0. There's a lot of 24-21, 35-23s, 36-33s, a lot of 15-7s, close, gritty wins. It's okay. Let's calm down a little bit. Let's not act like we're expecting something that we're not. Okay, I expected Auburn to cover while Bama was still going to win. So I'm not surprised by the final scores. I don't know why anyone's, acting like this is some four-alarm, national tragedy. They barely beat Auburn. I don't know. That's Kellen DeBoer's history. And that's good. I mean, that's good that they are getting to the SEC championship game. That should be what is celebrated instead of just everyone getting mad about, Kellen DeBoer and them continuing to struggle against these bad teams on the road. That's just who they are. Go look at the Florida State game earlier this year. They lost. Could have lost this one, but they didn't. And Auburn had multiple opportunities to cut off the snake or cut off the snake's head, and they failed to. And that's the culture of a bad team. That's the culture of a bad program. Now, we can talk about the coaching care, the stuff about Lane Kiffin later, but as for Auburn's future and who their coach is going to be, of course, for the longest time, we thought it was going to be John Summerall, the current Tulane head coach. That ain't the case anymore. A lot of things have happened since then. A lot of discussions have broke down. Both parties are kind of not on good terms right now. I'm sure Josh Pate will disclose more of that tomorrow on his show. But my assumption is that the next head coach of Auburn is either DJ Durkin or it's going to be Alex Galesh at South Florida. Between the two, I much prefer Galesh. I said it on Twitter earlier. I thought Auburn should have hired Josh Heupel back in 2020. They didn't. This would correct that whole mistake. So, but yeah, I mean, it was a good game to watch. I know a lot of folks make a big deal about the penalties and stuff. I don't care. Most of them, I think, were good calls. But yeah, again, everyone just, I don't know, everyone's still, there's still attitude and rhetoric about killing the board. Just turn it down a little bit. Again, go back to that 2023 Washington team. Okay, that team had a lot of close wins, a ton of close wins. Again, one of them was against a 5-7 Washington State team, and they made it to the national championship. So, it's fine. It's okay. It's fine. Relax a little bit. More, I know hopefully you guys never understand me, but it just bewilders me how a lot of folks don't understand that count the board, while Washington had a bunch of close games against a lot of teams who didn't make a bowl game. Because I don't know what to tell you. That's his history. I don't know what to tell you. Other results here: USC moved past UCLA. Actually, we didn't really talk about that game. Good for USC, by the way, 9-3. Talked about SMU and Cal. Good for Cal, I guess. But Duke now going to Charlotte. Ohio State, Michigan. Told you guys, I didn't fall off the whole Ryan Day thing with Ohio State. I believed in him. No one else did. I did. Got this one right here. Given Ohio State, look, they have flaws in this game too. I mean, they had turnovers. They were a little bit sloppy there in about the first 15 plus minutes. They really showed their physicality in this game, and it really showed. And then their defense. I mean, they pitched out a shutout really during the second half. They're 10-0. So credit to their defense. Matt Patricia. Look, I questioned him at the beginning of the year. I didn't like the hire initially. I was wrong on that, and good for them. They're going to Indianapolis for the first time this decade, which is insane to really think about, but that is Ohio State football. So, actually, no, that's incorrect. They did go in 2020, but in a normal year, this would be the first time this decade it would have been going to Indianapolis in a long time, essentially. So they'll be going there. Oregon, of course, will not be going, but they have one loss. They'll be in the playoff. They did beat Washington, so that was a good win for them, and a good gutsy win too. By the way, that was not a blowout. By the way, that was a very close game too, very competitive game. But back to Ohio State here, they finally did it. Got the monkey off their back. Use whatever adjective we wanted to use or way to describe it, but good for that program. Good for that fan base. It's a big sigh of relief. For Michigan, it's whatever. They're still building. They need a lot of help, by the way, at receiver, and they're going to need it. So hopefully they will get those in the portal. But yeah, Ohio State, man, just getting this out of their system psychologically. It's sort of kind of what I hope for Kirby and them next week when they face Bama, which they will be facing them in the SEC championship game next week. Sort of the same thing I think Kirby would, at least I would hope would happen for them next week with Georgia, is what's happened to Ohio State. It's this sort of psychological exposure thing where it's like you sort of, with Ohio State, it's like they always got to this game, at least the past couple of years, but they just psychologically, something happens. Like they just, whoop, and they didn't this time. And they composed themselves. They weathered the storm. Literally, it was snowing in the second half, and they got through it. So good for them. Good for them to psychologically get through this. They move on to Indianapolis again for Michigan. It's it kind of is what it is. You're building with Bryce Underwood for the future. You need help at receiver. I know their running back room was a mess today, but kind of is what it is at that point. So Ohio State, good for them to finally beat Michigan for the first time this decade. So that's good for them. Let's see here. LSU, Oklahoma, 17-13. I know the stat line for John Mateer looks good. 318 yards, 23 of 38. A good portion of those were on two big pass plays, and that's it. This Oklahoma offense is kind of hard to watch at times. It's kind of sad. I mean, this is something that we've seen all year, right? This goes back to the Michigan game and other games that other big games Oklahoma's been in. I mean, this offense is not necessarily playoff worthy. It's very inconsistent. It's very dreadful to watch. They can't run the football. Yes, their passing numbers look good, but that's because they had two big pass plays. Congratulations on that. You can't do that. You can't necessarily rely on those all the time. You need to have these intermediate throws. Now, again, it's good you can do the big nuclear plays, but in terms of Oklahoma's immediate passing game, it's just not good enough. And they really struggled again today against the LSU an LSU team that is a zombie team. Let's just say what it is. At least at the moment, they're a zombie team. But I guess good for OU. They avoided a total disaster scenario. They're in the playoffs. But I guess, I can go ahead and say it. I guess as a spoiler for my playoff picks, I'm going to pick them to go that far in the playoffs. So just to let you know that. More here. Miami, crushing Pitt. Good for them. Surviving the cold weather. I know folks will laugh at it, but that was a concern I had. Carson Beck looked pretty good. Pitt, I mean, it's almost like Pitt basically died in Atlanta last week, and they, you know, didn't show up. I guess their ghost didn't appear at all either. So good for Miami. Again, they're not going to the ACC championship game. That will be Duke. Will be going there to face Virginia. They'll be staying home, and their playoff hopes kind of locked in, but we'll see. Vanderbilt, Tennessee, big deal here. I was wrong in picking Tennessee. Good for Diego Pavia, and I think he will win the Heisman. This was, yes, I know he had 2 turnovers, but hey, he did those to look human. He was amazing. Besides, though, I mean, that was incredible. I mean, he was the team's leading rusher. The passing numbers again weren't great, but I'll just tell you what, man, he will be in New York for the Heisman. I think he'll win it, and I also believe Vanderbilt might be in the playoffs. Now, I grant you, it's the resume definitely falls apart a little bit, but I kind of do wonder if Pavia will probably win the Heisman. I don't know if they'll be in the playoff, but that'll be for future shows to talk about. Tennessee, I mean, defensively, they've been pretty bad all year. I've been pretty vocal about that. Offensively, disappointing to say the least. I mean, turnovers killed them. Aguilar was very consistent. As I believe a below 50% completion. So, I mean, look, like I said last week, win or lose, I think Tennessee going game for potential for 9 wins with a bowl win. I think with everything they went through in the spring with Nico leaving and whatnot, good for them. Good for them because it could have been a lot worse given what they went through back in the spring. Let's see here. Virginia, again, we know they're going to Charlotte to face Duke. I guess we can talk about the Friday games. I don't think there's anything else we missed, I don't believe, on the early games, I don't think. So I guess we can call it the Friday games. Of course, Indiana is going to Indianapolis. They're saying they're really going to the state capital, so good for them. They disposed of Purdue. Texas A&M losing to Texas. Who could have picked that? We did. Here on this show, we did. Correctly. Good win for Texas. First major win for Sark in the SEC. Again, not including the Bama win. That was non-con. But I guess if you want to bring in the total resume, yeah, this is one of the best wins he's had in his career. Good for them. I mean, Arch Manning looked pretty good. They got turnovers, which was the difference in the game. They had, I believe, Texas had either 1 or 0. A&M had a whole bunch. Looked to completely lost at times yesterday. They also ran the football pretty well with Weisner, the running back. They just looked physical, and they dominated A&M for the second straight year, which is humbling for A&M fan because, I mean, look, you're going to be in the playoffs, but you looked, you were the second least physical, or you were the second most physical team on the field in Austin yesterday. And that's not something that I think a lot of A&M fans are happy about, but, they have time. They will basically be getting several buys, I guess. I mean, I don't know if they will get an official first round bye in the playoffs, but they'll go dark. I mean, they go dark after this weekend, after yesterday. So you don't see them play again for at least 3 weeks. So, I mean, there's a lot of things to think about here with Marcus Reed. I mean, he'll be in New York. I don't think he'll win the Heisman. If he could definitely cost them with his performance yesterday, just didn't look very good. I mean, hats off to Sark, man. Hats off to the whole program and whole staff there, given what they've been going through. Rumors about him leaving for the NFL, obviously not affecting them, so they look pretty good. Georgia, I think we picked them to win. I think we picked Georgia at the cover. So yeah, we got this game right too. Very much so what we were looking for. Low scoring game, sloppy game. Neither team was really that inspiring offensively. Both good defensively, but the whole offense for both of these teams, Georgia and Georgia Tech, was kind of meh. I mean, it was a neutral site game, so there wasn't really a true home field advantage there for Georgia Tech, even though it was considered a home game. So how about that? And then Utah beat Kansas. They finished 10-2. Their future with the playoff is to be determined. Arizona, by the way, beating Arizona State soundly. Nice bounce back, by the way, from them with Brent Brennan after he was on a hot seat last year. They're 9-3 this year. Good for them. A quiet 9-3. And then Arizona State, of course, a lot of speculation about Kenny Dillingham and what his future is there. Once again, he's not denying he's up for those jobs that are out there, the big jobs that are open. So interesting about that with him. Now, for Ole Miss, we'll kind of wrap up on this. Ole Miss, of course, beating Mississippi State. But, of course, that's not what you're here for. You're here about my thoughts on Lane Kiffin. No announcement today as of 12:07. Nothing on Twitter as I'm checking. I don't think there's anything on here um, regarding Lane Kiffin. So yeah, nothing yet for Lane. So he has not made a decision. Been interesting, but I well, from what we know is that LSU is the leading candidate here to get him. Ole Miss is of course second. Florida has since pulled out of the race, and they are leaning towards John Summerall. So John Summerall will be going to a school with blue and orange colors. It's not the one that his wife went to, which was Auburn, and it's going to be Florida. But again, I think Alex Galesh, the current South Florida head coach, is going to Auburn. I think that is a real possibility. But think of Lane, I think he is going to LSU. I think they will announce it tomorrow. They're just delaying it because it seems like it's more or less the logistical issues, the fact that they're not going to Atlanta, so they will have time off in between the playoffs and him getting himself organized and his staff organized and getting their operation down there in Baton Rouge started. So I do believe that will be announced tomorrow, along with, of course, Alex Galesh going to Auburn. I think that will be announced tomorrow, or something will be determined with Auburn tomorrow. And I also believe John Summerall will be going to Florida probably. Again, we'll talk about that on the Tuesday show. I think he may do something tomorrow, but unlikely. We'll probably talk about it on the Tuesday show. But yeah, I think that's it for all the games I wanted to cover. But of course, the Bucks play tomorrow. The Cardinals, I think they're still going to lose. At the moment, Notre Dame's taking care of Stanford, so that's good. So, and Stanford, by the way, did get a new head coach. It's actually a former player who's a coach. So how about that? And no, it's not Andrew Luck. It's another quarterback. But that's it for the breaking news. So yeah, so we'll be back on the show Tuesday. May do something tomorrow if any coaching thing gets a little bit weird, or may do something tomorrow during Sunday Night Football. But until Tuesday, if anything breaks, we'll let you guys know. But on Tuesday, we'll do full predictions for the conference championship games and reactions to the coaching carousel. So we'll bring all that for you on Tuesday on the show. So normal week next week, normal schedule. So I don't have to worry about us doing one show next week or any late shows or anything like that. So it should be good to go. So until then, take care, enjoy the games tomorrow, and we'll see you guys on Tuesday.